Hi everyone, this is Alan from Rawlo Financial. In a previous video, I spoke about my portfolio and I said how my portfolio is set up long term for what I believe is decades of higher inflation ahead. Now, that got me thinking I should speak a little bit about how inflation is calculated and how our governments essentially lie to us on a regular basis about the inflation data. For their benefit, they purposefully change things around and manipulate it so the data appears a lot softer and inflation appears lower than what it is. So I want to just speak how that works. So this is international, really. I'll speak about how it works from a UK perspective, but all governments are kind of the same. They all run the same scam. They all run the same playbook. So in the UK, we have the ONS, and the ONS is the Office for National Statistics. And the Office for National Statistics, they essentially, for a long time, they put together a basket of goods, we'll call it, a basket of goods. And I think it's about 700 items. So they put together what the average person buys over their, life. So sometimes it can be things like holidays. It can actually include quite a variety of things like holidays and things. But a lot of it is the price that you pay for everyday goods. So a loaf of bread, a pack of butter, just general things in the store, right? So as we're all aware, if you watch any of the news for the past few years, we've had high inflation. So that is around about sort of the 10% marker, which is really high when you think about it, especially when they're lying about the data. So I want to tell you how they lie about the data, essentially. What they do, or what they have done in the past, is if they see a particular type of product that is going up too fast for their liking, they don't want that to influence the data too much. So for example, let's say meat or steaks are going up too high at a too rate, and it's actually 25% inflation. Well, that has the chance to manipulate the basket too much and show what real inflation looks like. So what they do in that instance, they might substitute out steak for a lower end grade of meat that isn't going up too fast. So they might say chicken, and chicken's only going up 4%. So they'll go, look, it's only going up 4%, and they get to swap that out. And that, by manipulating the basket and constantly changing the basket and looking for those types of things, this is how they look to manipulate inflation on you. So for example, there is a site by John Williams called Shadow Stats. Now, in his site, I think it's mostly about the American consumer, but you get the idea. So on his site, he looks at inflation, but he uses the same metrics that the governments used many years ago. I think we're talking like the 70s, 80s type era, and he kept the same metrics. And by his definition, if you go into his website, you can see how inflation is stubbornly high and has been high for a long time. So the numbers that we get when they say 10%, in reality it's more like 20%, and we can all feel it. You can see how fast in the supermarkets products go up, and they don't go up by 2% here and there. They go up by 5%, and it might go up 5% or 10%, and it might go up 2 or 3 times a year. So when they try to say, oh, it's only 6% inflation, they're asking you to lie. They're asking you not to believe your lying eyes. And it's important that we understand how this game really works, because if you believe the government when they say things like that, your lifestyle is going to get hammered, and so is your portfolio, basically. Because if you're not catering for the long term and looking after yourself, the government sure isn't hell going to look after you. So you need to get on top of that. You need to understand how inflation works, and that's a good place to start. Go to Shadow Stats, John Williams, and take a look at the real data of how inflation works. Another thing that we get robbed on in terms of the inflation data, I want to talk about like supermarkets and stuff, and just general sort of corporations, and how they can change the sizes of things. So I'll give you like an incident recently. My mum went out and bought some toilet roll. And that little cardboard spindle that was in the middle, it used to be like this size. When she came home with some toilet paper not that long ago, and the spindle was like this. There was minimal paper on the outside. Those things are called like shrinkflation. So the ply that they use, for example, on toilet paper gets thinner, gets smaller, the cardboard gets larger. They'll use larger tins and things like that. You buy a bag of crisp and there's less crisp inside. They pump it with air so it feels full. When you open it, there's next to no crisp. That's called shrinkflation, and that is where the corporations, so you're getting hammered from 2 angles really. So that's where the corporations, they don't want to be seen to be constantly having to put up their prices to keep up with the fact that commodities worldwide are going through the roof, but they still want to make a profit. So what they have to do from a psychological perspective is they'll try to keep prices the same, but slowly find ways to give you less. Now, I don't want to attack corporations because they sort of have to do this from a psychology perspective and to safeguard their profits. But the core issue here is we're not getting enough of the commodities out of the ground worldwide. And we've created a molecule shortage that is in everything. We're trying to rely on wind and gas. This is like a long-winded explanation, but we're trying to rely on wind and gas to power complex civilizations, and it's just not possible. So because we haven't been investing as much in energy, add that in the war in Ukraine, but it's created a massive spike worldwide in all commodities. So the fundamental price of everything, of all the input costs of everything that we have, has essentially gone up. It's only been going one way, and it's been going up fast. So if you think about it, your average company, when they make one particular product, it might include plastics. There might be farmers involved. You think about the production chain of one particular item. Even if it's a food item, the package that it comes out, it might be wrapped in plastic. Then on top of that, there might be card involved. There's delivery drivers involved, and all these people. There's the store worker who puts it on the shelf. There's the person who grows it. The person who kills the animal, for example, maybe. And there's so many people and so many products involved. So if inflation's high, all those people want their wages to go up, which means the products gets hit. On top of that, the core input cost of the plastic, for example, goes up, and things like that. So everything is going up, and corporations, they want to make profit at the end of the day, so they have to pass on that price to you. But if they do it too fast, if you see prices going up double, treble in a year, people are really going to moan. So their option is to go for the shrinkflation. So if you think about it, you're getting smashed from two angles. You're getting essentially the erosion of your wealth via inflation, when really it's a lot higher than what the government say it is. And then on top of that, when you go out to use your money to buy products and services, you're getting less for it. So and I think this is going to be a theme for the next, decades, multiple decades. The Western Hemisphere and a lot of the world has run its course on debt. We've taken on so much debt, cheap money, lived in a fashion well beyond our means, and as a result of that, they're going to struggle. They're going to be swamped in debt. And the only way to get through that is to allow inflation to eat the debt away. There's two options: pay off the debt or let inflation eat that money away. And there is no way in hell Western governments have the appetite to, raise taxes and, try and pay back the debt. There's just, the public are so silly. They don't have the stomach for it. They don't know how a lot of these finances work, I believe. And as a result of that, I think they're going to go for the second option, which is decades of inflation. They're going to be stealthy about it. The real rate of inflation is going to be high. Your standard of living is going to slowly go down if you're not protecting yourself. And that's how they're going to try to erode these massive debt piles in the background. So I think from your perspective, from my perspective, it's important that you understand this and look for ways to protect yourself. And this is why my particular style is I've gone for a dividend portfolio, the process of compound interest, just continually rebuying shares until I'm ready to use this money on a long-term basis a few years down the line. At the minute, I'm still relatively young, or at least I feel it. So I've got loads of energy. I like to go to the gym. I've still got that appetite for work, but I'm looking for the long term where I want to slowly transition away from working so much. And that's where I want all that dividend power and that portfolio power to afford me a lifestyle where I can basically live life on my terms. I'm not necessarily a massive person who wants to be a millionaire and a show pony. Look at me. If any of you watch my videos, I've always got plain coloured t-shirts on, cheap as chips. I'm not an expensive type of person. But I do want to live life on my terms, and that means as much free time as I can, so I can do the things that I enjoy. I'm a massive fan of, going travelling, seeing new places, sunshine holidays. I live in the UK, in Manchester to be specific, and the weather is terrible virtually all year round, unfortunately, even in summer. So I like to get away when I can. I like to be in the sunshine, get a nice tan, be on a beach. Who doesn't feel good when they're in beautiful sunshine with blue sky? So yeah, that's my vice particularly. So my portfolio is set up in such a way that we're looking to looking to protect ourselves from inflation, guys. So Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know your thoughts on inflation. You know, are you guys aware that there's a site called Shadow Stats and John Williams, and that the real data of inflation is a lot higher than it has been? Or maybe this is new to you, or maybe you don't really know much about inflation. You've come across this video by accident and you're learning about inflation for the first time and how this basket of goods works, and you didn't really know it beforehand. You know, let me know your thoughts, guys. I'm always interested to hear what your thoughts are. If there's any ways that the video can be improved, you know, things of that nature, I am happy to listen to. And if not, I hope you well, guys. Please follow this channel for more videos, more content, always coming. I'm happy to make the videos, and I will see you soon. Take care.